When it comes to health and well-being, many of us have learned that we need to change how we eat in order to support our bodies. And one of the biggest myths out there is that if you want to be healthy, you should avoid fat. It's not true. If you've learned that fat is not as bad for you as you think, chances are you still don't know all the beneficial kinds of fat and some of the reasons why we want to include more fat both inside and out. Today, I am delighted to be talking with my dear friend Leah Hill. She is the farmer's wife and an amazing practitioner in her own right. She and her husband, Dr. Arlen Hill, own and operate Harvest Hills Ranch. And Leah is here today to talk with us about the health benefits of a fat that most of us are no longer aware of. We need to learn more about it, and that's tallow. Leah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Miss Mira. It's a pleasure.
And I love that you have really embraced the benefits of tallow. And I know every time I see you, you're always talking about different studies or different ways that you're using it. Before we dive into all of that, can you help educate us and explain what is tallow?
Absolutely. So I'm going to show you the cooking form and the body form. So these two things from the inside out, I'm just so thrilled to talk about this. So tallow and suet. So tallow is the rendered melted down beef fat. So for cooking, it is from the trim fat and the organ fat. So the fat that's around the organ, which is so healthy and so nutrient dense. Specifically for any type of non-cooking applications, it's strictly the suet. So
Mm.
this is harder. That's what you can make with tallow balm. You can make soap, shampoos, it's candles. It's absolutely endless what you can do with this. And then the cooking part, it smells amazing. It's velvety. It's that smell of the French fries from the 80s because McDonald's actually used to only cook three ingredients. It was potatoes, salt, and tallow, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of people are scared about using tallow for non-cooking things that they're going to smell like a French fry. So there's special ways to render it where it's absolutely odorless. So a lot of people are hesitant on trying it because they don't want to smell like a French fry. So
Well, and I think one of the amazing things about tallow is that it really is a great cooking oil and
mhm.
also great for things. There are baking applications for it and that sort of thing. I'm curious to know, as people are learning how to incorporate it into their diet, what's your recommendation for a great way to get started with tallow?
Right. So there are some that you can find at the grocery store. I always say do your research on it. So if it's, bright orange, yellow, gold color, I would be a little leery of it because it's supposed to be this beautiful yellowy kind of white color, and that means there hasn't been any dyes added to it. So when you're looking, just read your labels, understand the sourcing on it. And, Miss Mira is absolutely amazing, the ingredient guru, right? So I know y'all are all very well versed on reading your labels and checking those things out. So really, you can actually, it's just not beef tallow. There is
Mhm.
duck tallow, there is pork, which is called lard. Anything that's a ruminant animal can be made into a cooking fat or a tallow source. So it's not just beef.
Oh, good point. Because you're right, there are a lot of fats, and the fat is, as you mentioned earlier, such a nutrient dense part of the animal. And sadly, in a lot of ways, we discard it or put it into alternative uses commercially because not enough people are consuming it. But it really used to be the only fat we had. Uh,
Absolutely.
can you
It's the
share?
fat of our, I'm sorry, it's the fat of our ancestors. It's our part of our culinary history that has been lost through misinformation and different studies that weren't complete studies saying, hey, it's going to cause heart disease and it's going to be this. They've never actually, I've never seen a study that I have ever personally found in my research that actually ever proved it. But on the flip side of that, seed oils, highly processed vegetable oils, there is a myriad of studies that say, hey, we shouldn't be doing this. So it's getting back to what our ancestors already knew, and science is slowly starting to figure it out again. So it's just a beautiful blossoming of old information that we knew coming back to light and being scientifically backed and proven again, which is just, it just tickles me pink. It's just awesome.
No, it's great. It really is. And we do need to reclaim that ancestral part of our diet.
Absolutely.
And I would love if you could share what are some of the health benefits, because so many people are afraid of it because they've been taught that it's unhealthy, but really it's the reverse. So can you share those health benefits with us?
So, I mean, from an inside application and outside application, tallow suet in itself is the closest structure to our own cells. So when we use it
Mhm.
as a skin application or we ingest it, it is like our body is getting a fresh start on life, so to speak, as it gets what it needs to actually physically heal and retain those nutrients. So you're getting it contains a small amount of vitamin A, which is important for vision, immune function, skin health. Then you have vitamin D, bone health, immune system regulation. You have K2, plays a key role in calcium metabolism absorption. You have your B vitamins, your B12. You also have your saturated fat, which is stable, which what makes tallow stable for cooking. It doesn't oxidize. And the oxidation of the seed oils or cooking oils that are out there right now oxidize. So because it doesn't have as high of a smoke point and it breaks down. So you're basically eating a toxic food at that point. So tallow has one of the highest smoke points that I have seen with my research. So you're not going to be consuming a possible carcinogen in that. Um, you have your monosaturated fats in there, your polysaturated fats, your CLAs. I'm not going to try to say it because I always mess it up. It's a tongue twister for me. But it's just amazing how regenerative it is and how restructuring just for the cells alone, there's so many studies on that. It's just like mind-boggling. I could talk for hours on that, but I'm gonna spare y'all all those details. But it's just really, really nice. It adds a nice flavor and adds texture. It just feels good and actually helps you in your digestion when you're consuming it. There's a lot of studies that are coming out and some are just been published within the past few weeks about eating animal fats actually help you burn fats. And
Mm.
acne, the application of it on the skin for acne healing has been quite profound. And a lot of cosmetics companies are slowly trying to figure out, are they going to get on the bandwagon or not? So it's just a really cool time for, what we're learning and heading into in the future.
And again, it's a real food source. Like that's one of the things
Yes.
that I love, not created in a lab, not manipulated in any way. I'd like to go back to a word that you mentioned just a minute ago, regenerative. And so I will say the CLA is for conjugated linoleic acid, and that is hugely beneficial for our body. There, higher levels of CLA are tied to reduced inflammation, all that kind of thing. And you and Dr. Hill are both regenerative farmers,
Yes.
meaning your cows are out on land that's cared for. I would love for you to talk a little bit about that because studies have shown that pastured animals have higher levels of CLA. So can you
Yes.
explain what the regenerative part is and why that's so beneficial?
Absolutely. And we'll start from the foundation of what they're walking on up to the animal itself. So you've got to think about, okay, cows are eating grass, they're grass fed, grass finished. Wonderful. But what's in the grass they're eating? What's in the soil they're eating? Are they getting regular city tap water to drink? And they're dealing with all those toxins in there. So ours is filtered well water. We have never added anything but calcium and chicken manure onto our pastures from our pasture raised chickens and turkeys on there. And so we know by the biodiversity what's happening. And like we see the bugs, we see the earthworms, we see the dung beetles. It's just beautiful. And, the mushrooms that grow in the cow pats. So we know we have that environment tuned in because we've left it alone. and we rotationally graze our cows. So they're moving across the pasture, they're getting the freshest grass, they're getting the sugar bricks in the grass, and they are healthy, they are happy, and they're thriving because that is how they're supposed to be. They don't have any, our neighbors are forest. And so we don't have to worry about the toxins coming in from somebody spraying something or somebody, doing a row crop situation and getting all the herbicides, pesticides. We are very blessed and honored to have our land, and we cherish it. It is absolutely a blessing to be able to nurture and be able to have the biodiversity we have. It wasn't easy. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of what in the world are we doing? I like to say I traded in my red bottom shoes for red rubber boots. So it's just that evolution of country girl into the city, did our city thing. I'm like, man, I want to come back. And it's also such a bridge and a beautiful piece of the clinic and the functional nutrition piece. It's just they're so married together, and the disconnection from food, real food, is just
Mhm.
so real. And it's just getting back and knowing your farmer and just who is touching your food, who's producing it, do they actually care about the animal? There's all those pieces, and I could ramble, so I'm just gonna drop it right there. But
You're
just
fine.
the passion and the love for what we do, I hope it exudes in everything. And we're just we love what we do, and we wouldn't have it any other way. So,
Well, your passion clearly shines through. And I love that as regenerative farmers, it's not just about the animals, but about the earth, about where you're raising them so that the whole cycle of what you're doing is cared for and that you're really focusing on making sure that all the pieces and parts go together, not just
absolutely.
the finished product. Like that's a really beautiful thing. So one of the other thing, we're talking about all the benefits of tallow and regenerative farming and all these things. Can we take a half a step back and address some of the misconceptions about consuming fat? Because you're the
Yes.
perfect person to answer that.
So we kind of touched on it very briefly, but it went into, we were sold into the mindset of, well, this is bad because there was a study, and this is just the new thought process, the new shiny thing, that it is no longer good to do it. We're gonna move to seed oils. We're gonna move to vegetable oils. And really, honestly, that was
Worse
all.
than that, if I can just step in for a
Yeah, go
second,
ahead.
it was that we're going to move into hydrogenated fats,
Yes.
a trans
Yes.
fat, which is so bad for your body.
Oof. Like I said earlier, there's so many studies saying we shouldn't be doing this. Why are we doing this? And with, the tallow, regardless of what ruminant animal it comes from, there's really nothing. They're all incomplete. They just really don't have any substantial outcomes on anything. And if you really deep dive into who was paying for the study, it makes sense why it was inconclusive, or there was never really any dialed in pieces saying this is this, and we're good to go. Actually, the Heart Association came out a few years ago with studies saying it actually is good to consume animal fats. So it's just the retraining the brain of the general population that, hey, we said this was bad, but now it's actually good. So it's the rebranding it, making it shiny, and slowly rolling it back out, because the companies that produce those, well, they don't want that to come out, right? So there's kind of this war right now between the highly processed versus the natural whole food debate. So
And I love that you share about how it can have different colors, but those colors are totally natural, right? Doesn't that depend on what the animal's eating and maybe what time of year it is?
yeah, and the climate. So if you're getting tallow from Africa, African cows, well, they have rainforests. They have beautiful pieces where they're in total yellow fat all year round. So
Wow.
here in Texas, we have like a 5 to 6 month window where we have the flowers, which is your carotenoids, which that's why our chickens have beautiful golden orange yolks. But it's only in our dairy cow, Miss Millie May. I love that cow. She's A2 certified. So her cream, her butter, all those things will have this beautiful, like lemony color, kind of like this, uh, maybe 5, 6 months out of the year. But
Hmm.
after that, it actually ends up being more of a whitey color because they don't have, they're not eating, they don't naturally eat bugs, but when they get there in the grass and they're eating, they do get bugs. So they get the coloring from the bugs, they get the flowers and all the beautiful seeds from the plants in the spring and the summer and fall before the first frost, but it's not something that happens all year round. So like with our eggs, they stay a beautiful yellow color, but they're not that golden orange. If you
Hmm.
see those things all year round, there's something up with that because it's not natural unless it's coming from like New Zealand, Australia, Africa, something where they have more of a tropical climate and they don't really deal with any cold weather of any significance to kill those flowers or make the bugs go into dormancy.
That's so interesting. And when you showed us the container with the white tallow in it, that reminded me, I wanted to ask you, you talked about outside applications as well. What are some of the reasons you would use tallow on your
I'm so
skin?
glad you asked because this is a personal project of mine, and I'll share my story of how I started using tallow for more than just cooking. It was actually because of my son who's now 19 months old, but I'll get there in a second. So this is actually a tallow candle. How
Oh,
cool is
okay.
that, right? Um, and you can make tallow melts, like wax. There's no wax in it, so I can't call it a wax melt, but it's a
Wow.
tallow melt, right? There's whipped tallow balm, which it actually looks like cake batter.
Oh
It
my goodness,
is
it does.
it is soft, it is creamy, and
Wow.
it's the only thing you will ever put on your skin that absorbs into your skin. It doesn't stay on top and give you a greasy feeling. So if you have like a lotion, a coconut-based lotion or like a cocoa butter, it stays on there and it feels great and supple for a while. Then it gets greasy when it heats up on your skin and you're like, ugh,
Yeah.
you get that tacky. And then it just goes away, evaporates off your skin. And then you're left feeling dry again. You don't feel moisturized. This actually absorbs into the skin, into your cells, and the biggest organ on your body, which is your skin, actually gets nutrients. It's actually rejuvenating the cells, giving nutrients, and they're actually repairing and rejuvenizing themselves as it's
Wow.
taking it in. There's a fun one. Now, I love this is Whipped Tallow Balm Lip Balm.
Oh,
Isn't
fun.
that fun? And I use earth pigments and not mica in them because mica is just shredded aluminum. So you don't want to put, we have enough issues with that as it is.
Right.
Another fun application, bone broth. It has a tallow layer on there as well. So that's more internal than external.
So is
Um,
that bone broth from beef bones?
yes. So this is actually,
Wow.
this would have the same flavor as cooking tallow because it's not rendered down. So this is trim fat and not the organ fat. And of course, whoops, for the guys, you could have just the clear everyday piece. What I found with lips in the winter when it starts going, our humidity goes down, is that it hurts. You get there's this like week or two where your lips get chapped and you're just like, man, they're just uncomfortable. You put chapstick or Carmex on it. It feels good for a minute, and then you're left with even worse drier lips because there's a lot of alcohol and I'm not even gonna get into that in there. So back in the day, they actually used to use tallow for lubrication and waterproofing. That's
Okay.
what they used before we use what we use now, if it's chemicals. And it actually does, it takes a long time before it actually will wear off your lips or your hands. So it's literally healing and sealing your lips. It's taking it in, it's healing the issue, not a band-aid. It's actually healing whatever the imbalance is in that skin. And you're left feeling, oh, my lips are good. I can move on with life again. So it's actually pretty cool.
That sounds really neat. Well,
It's
Leah,
so
you have
creamy.
shared so much information with us. This is really, and I had no idea that there was that much depth to tallow, and we didn't
Oh,
even
there's
get
so much
into
more
the
too.
science. Yeah, absolutely. So one last question before we go though. How do people get a hold of you and how do they order your products?
Yes, we are at Harvest Hills with an S ranch.com, and all of our information is on there. The line is the skincare line is called Rooted. And then the tallow is just in the cooking oil section. So there's a chicken fat option and then the beef tallow option on there. Because I mean, it's good to mix up your healthy fats, right? So those are the options we have right now. So yeah, we do direct home delivery straight to your door within certain regions of our delivery areas. So that's all on the website. And if you have any questions, there's a contact us tab on there and send me a line. I'll be more than happy to get you answered.
That sounds great. I definitely am going to have to get some of that lip balm for winter because, oh my gosh, it gets awful here when the
Yes.
humidity drops.
Yes, it's just like our skin goes from to oh my gosh, prunes, right? So yeah, definitely can tell that piece on there. So yeah.
Well, Leah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your passion and your knowledge of tallow with us. Folks, I want to remind you to check the links down below. I'll put a link to Harvest Hills Ranch and some other resources for you, so be sure to check those out. And I want to encourage you to consider trying tallow in your diet, cook with it, use it, and then also consider, as Leah says, using it inside and out. Thanks so much for watching, and in all you do, make today a healthy day. Bye, folks.